Hi, my name is Meredith Patterson. I know this isn't my journal, but this might be my last chance to get to write anything for a long time, and Lily's asleep at the moment, so let me tell you a little about myself. My full name is Meredith Rose Patterson. I was born in Towson, Maryland. My parents' names were David and Teresa, but I called them Mama Bird and Daddy Bird. They died in a fire. I was an only child. I say was because, well, you see, I died too. Not in the fire with my parents. I know what you're thinking. How can she be telling this if she's dead? It's a long story. I should start by explaining that I had a gift. Some people are really good at drawing. Some people can do handstands and cartwheels. I could make things catch on fire just by thinking about it. No, I didn't burn myself up. The fire didn't hurt me. I could stand in it and not even feel hot. I burned other people, though. Not intentionally. Sometimes the fire happened even when I wasn't thinking about it, usually when I got scared or angry. I felt awful whenever it happened. Mama Bird always hugged me and told me, "Nobody blames you, Mary." But I blamed myself. Then one night I woke up and our house was on fire. Everything burned. Photo albums, toothbrushes, my dollhouse. Mama Bird burned. Daddy Bird burned. It was so bad, it even burned me. It was the only time my fire ever actually hurt me. I thought maybe it was to mark me forever. Every day I'd look in the mirror and see my face and remember what I'd done. I hated my reflection. After the hospital, I got moved around to different foster homes and orphanages for a while. I can still name a lot of people I lived with. There was Miss Marie St. John, who smelled like baby powder all the time. And then there was Mr. and Mrs. Hanscom, who already had 3 other foster children, and they were all boys, so it was kind of weird and awkward. I had an aunt, Aunt Jackie, but I guess she didn't want to take me in. I think maybe she was scared of me. I couldn't blame her. Eventually, though, this nice couple called Mr. and Mrs. Lake took me in, and I finally got to go to regular school again. That's where I met this other girl named Lily, who also had a gift. Lily could talk to angels. I guess she saw them and they communicated with her and told her things about the future and about people. She knew about my fire gift before I even told her because an angel told her. And she said that the angel talked to her out of my Barbie doll, which was one of the only things they'd rescued from my old home. I used to keep that thing on me all the time. Lily was very nice. She didn't care that I looked different. She didn't care that I could set things on fire. I only knew her for a short while, but she quickly became my best friend, even standing up for me when other kids would pick on me. I needed somebody like her so bad. I really do think the angels guided me to her. She was my new Mama Bird. My Lily Bird. Then things got weird and bad. This man was hunting for me who knew what I could do, and he wanted to kidnap me and use me to hurt other people. He also had a gift which apparently was making people believe things that weren't true. He got into your brain and made you believe what he wanted you to believe. He used Lily to get to me, and then he used me to hurt this lady police officer that showed up to stop him. It was one of the worst moments of my life, watching someone burn to death in front of me. I never saw anybody die before. Even worse was at the time I felt good about it. I almost killed Lily, too. I'm so glad I didn't. Thank you, God. I didn't kill my Lily Bird. The man ran away but came back later to try and get me again. I guess he tried to start a fire or something in the hotel we were at because there was this black smoke that filled our room and I nearly died from inhaling it. The Lakes took me and moved west to a town called Orange to try and get away. That was its name, Orange. We lived in a little blue house in Orange that was made for 2 families. I no longer got to have my own bathroom, but that's kind of an unimportant detail, sorry. I thought I'd probably never see Lily again. But one night, she came walking out of my bedroom closet like Like it was perfectly normal to be in my closet in the middle of the night. She told me she needed my help. That actually turned out not to be Lily, but some other girl who could make herself look like Lily. I should have known it wasn't my Lily bird because she looked at me and I could see in her eyes that same look other people have when they look at me. Anyway, this girl that looked like Lily took me into the closet, which opened up into some sort of giant hotel with tons of rooms where the real Lily was being attacked by monsters. Yes, really, I didn't dream it. In the end, I saved Lily's life from a witch who wanted to kill her. Or I started to, but then the angels appeared in big suits like astronauts wear, and they put the witch in a cage, and then another angel in a business suit showed up, and Lily made the room rip in half, and the angels carried us off, and then Lily and I got home thanks to a guy who looked kind of like a Grizzly Adams from TV. At least, Lily got home. Grizzly Adams was supposed to drive me back to Orange, but we ran into trouble with these two monsters that looked like people from the Closet Hotel world. Lily and I had seen them earlier. They had no heads, but wore other people's heads to hide that they were monsters. Wait, okay. I know it's getting weird, but I'm getting to the point where I died. Those two monster guys killed Grizzly Adams, and then dragged me back to Lily's house where everybody got into a big fight, and then the world exploded or something, and next thing I knew, I was sitting at the kitchen table in my old house. My first house. The one which got burned down with my parents inside. And my mama bird and daddy bird were there too. And they were so happy to see me. And I felt so happy to see them. It makes me want to cry just remembering it. Have you ever had a dream where you were little again and everything was just bright and sunny like some perfect day? But not too sunny, and there was a cool breeze and birds chirping in the trees and everybody's wearing their favorite clothes, and you look in a mirror and you smile because you recognize your face looking back and it doesn't look all awful and scarred and hideous. Well, it was like that. I don't remember how long it went on either. It wasn't like one endless day. There were beautiful sunsets and cool nights and mama bird and daddy bird tucking me into bed and the feeling of my comforter tucking up to my chin. There was no fear or disappointment, no regret, no tiredness, just peace and happiness. At one point, this other person came to our house. He seemed very polite, but kind of shy. I remember he had long blonde hair that was tied in a ponytail, and he was dressed in very red clothes. He said he just wanted to say hello and that he was a neighbor, but none of us could remember having a neighbor that looked like him. He talked to my parents for what felt like an hour in the living room and kept glancing over at me. Maybe I reminded him of someone. His eyes seemed very sad. Mama Bird told me later that his name was Nathaniel and that he just wanted to visit from time to check in on us to make sure we were okay. Then one morning, or maybe it wasn't morning, I woke up like waking up from a dream and everything was black and I couldn't move. And I struggled, but my arms and legs didn't seem to be there. And I tried to open my eyes, but I couldn't even feel if I had eyes anymore. I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Fear. So I called out, "Hello?" And nearby, someone whispered, "Meredith, is that you?" I recognized the voice. It was my best friend, Lily. I had missed her so much, but I couldn't see her, or anything else for that matter. I was scared, but I knew if my Lily bird was with me, I'd be okay. At first, I could only speak and hear, but with time, I started seeing through the darkness and even being able to move. I saw myself in the mirror at one point. It's weird when you remember what you look like to look in a mirror and see someone completely different looking back. More so when it's a blue, stuffed cat with buttons for eyes and a pink felt tongue sticking out. Lily had brought me back somehow, put my soul inside this stuffed animal. The world is so much bigger when you're small. The world must be so small to big people. I'm used to being small, but this was even smaller than I'm used to. When you're small as a stuffed cat, you can't open doors, lift most things, and it's a bit limiting. Also, I had no thumbs. That's another thing. I forgot to mention that. It was a mistake. Lily hadn't meant to bring me back, ripping me from my family. She would never intentionally do something like that. It turned out her own family had died the same night I did in the same explosion. Lily blamed herself for my death and her parents. She had been trying to bring them back, not me. Now, I'm not saying I support raising the dead, but it was nice to see Lily again. And the Lakes. She lived with the Lakes now. Because, well, she was an orphan like me. Poor Lily. I felt really bad for her. At least she was in good hands with the Lakes. Mrs. Lake made the best pancakes you've ever tasted, let me tell you, no lie. Lily tried to help me go back to the other side where I was sure my parents were waiting for me, but she didn't know how to do it. She tried asking her angel friend, but he wasn't available or something. So we just had to wait. We spent the night talking about stuff. Her mostly telling me what I'd missed by being dead and me trying to describe being dead. I guess I don't have a grave? My body was totally gone. That's a shame because it would have been really interesting to go visit if I'd gotten a grave. I thought everybody got a grave. The next day we went to where I died, which was Lily's old house. Only it was a pile of rubble after what happened. Apparently, Lily went back there regularly to try to raise her parents' ghosts like she accidentally did with me. Something about how being closer to the place where they died makes it easier to communicate with them? I don't know, I've never read about spiritual stuff. I like books like Goosebumps or The Babysitter's Club personally. While Lily was digging through stuff, I just hung out and listened to birds in the woods behind her house. I was a little afraid a stray dog or a raccoon might come along and grab me in its mouth, but I guess animals don't go near Lily's house for some reason. Then this boy showed up. He and Lily talked for a while. I tried to hold still so he wouldn't notice I could move. He seemed nice, but after a bit he ran off and Lily got suspicious and chased after him. I got to ride along under her arm. We stopped at this green house that had a mailbox with the name The Donovans on it. Just as we started up the walk, someone came up behind Lily and knocked us both to the ground. Next thing I knew, I was snatched up by the person. Things were kind of a blur for a bit after that. I just remember someone's feet running on crunchy grass and a couple different doors slamming. A few minutes later, I was dropped on the top of the laundry machine in some dark basement, and this woman in overalls was staring at me. Next to her was the boy who had been talking to Lily. He picked me up and turned me over a couple of times and then said, "I don't feel any different." If he really wanted to feel different, he should try being stuck inside of a stuffed kitty cat. Someone else was in the room and they said, "That's not a toad. What is that?" And then they chuckled and said, "She's still trying to summon her parents. Oh my, what a colossal mess she's made. And you, too. I told you not to lead her here. We need to get her to lead us to it, not lead her to us." Lily had told me to just act like I was a normal doll, so I lay there and did nothing, but I was still feeling kind of scared. I didn't know what would happen if they tore me apart or set me on fire. I was afraid I'd end up haunting the house or fade away into nothing and never see my parents or Lily again. Then this loud banging came from upstairs, and the other person in the room, I didn't see who it was, said, "That's her. Go answer the door. We'll have to get you the toad the hard way. Play nice. Tell your mother to patch her up and offer her one of those cookies. Make sure not to be stupid again and eat one yourself. And remember, don't kill her. I need her. Hide the toy." And then the boy, David, basically repeated all that to the lady like she couldn't hear it, and she picked me up and stuffed me in the dryer and shut the door. It was dark. I waited a bit for it to sound like they left, but being inside a dryer makes it hard to hear things. I counted to myself, and then after 5 minutes tried pushing on the dryer door to get out, but it had a latch or something and wouldn't budge. So I waited. Sorry. I'm not used to writing this much. I'm getting carpet tunnel syndrome, I think. So after a while, I heard some sort of commotion, loud enough to hear it even in the dryer. Somebody screamed. A woman, I think. I kind of hoped it was the lady who had stolen me from Lily. It sounded like her. And some minutes later, there was some banging and thumping from above, followed by someone stomping down the stairs into the basement. A sound like they dropped a sack of laundry on the floor and then stomping back up the stairs and slamming the door. I could hear somebody talking, but their voice was muffled. I thought maybe it was that boy or his mom or even the other person who had been with them. I was going to lie down and play dead again, which is a funny thing considering I was really dead, but I accidentally banged into the dryer door. It was dark, okay? And then things got crazy outside the dryer. I could hear some soft creaking, and then suddenly it sounded like someone fell down some stairs. Whump, 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 whump. And then a minute or so later, someone else came thumping down the stairs maybe to see if they were all right. I heard that boy yell, "She's gone into the back room." And then someone else yell, "No, I haven't." The someone else was clearly Lily. I can recognize her voice anywhere. I was really excited to hear her, but I was also worried that they were going to hurt her or something. What was she doing in the basement? Had she tracked me down? Then I heard her scream, and David shouted her name really loud. I had to do something, so I started pounding frantically on the inside of the dryer, trying to get the door to move even a smidgen. I was going to burn them all, that's what I was going to do, and the boy David and his mom and anyone else who might hurt my Lily bird. There came a loud crash like someone breaking a mirror or a window, and then Lily's voice again, right outside, shouting, "What the HE double hockey sticks are you?" at something. And that voice from earlier was yelling back at her about what did she do to David. What did she do to David? But then I was practically clawing at the inside of the dryer, just bang, 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 as hard as I could, considering my hands were soft, stuffed animal paws. And then the dryer door came open, and I tumbled out into the dimly lit basement. And there was my Lily bird. Oh my goodness, I was so ecstatic. I just wanted to leap into her arms and let the angels whisk us away. But then the boy David showed up again, and this time with his own stuffed animal, some dirty-looking bunny. And there was lots of nasty blood all over his face and clothes. He and Lily started arguing about hurting each other. I guess his mom had hit Lily with a teapot or something, and she had hit him with a TV set, which is crazy. David grabbed a hammer, and I think he was going to try and kill Lily. They kept arguing about stuff I didn't understand, and even the stuffed rabbit was talking. It all got really confusing. I tried to offer help, but I guess since I died, I lost the ability to burn things with my mind. The rabbit said something about me losing my toad, which they really seemed obsessed with toads. I don't know. They talked about them more later. I'll get to that. We only managed to get out of there because Lily punched David in the crotch with her fist. He went down and she grabbed me, and we got the heck out of that creepy basement. But then upstairs was the crazy mother lady, and she was mopping up all this blood and acting all weird like she didn't know what was going on, even though earlier she had hit Lily on the head with a teapot. Maybe she had short-term memory loss? Or she was just insane. But David came up into the kitchen all angry and red and shouting, and Lily tried to make for the door but got thunked in the noggin with a jar of cookies and then ran into the side of the doorway. She tried to get up, but David's crazy mom just straight up punched her in the face and knocked her out. I yelled at her to get up, but David just grabbed her legs and dragged her out of the room. I didn't know what to do. Before I could even get my bearings, David's crazy mom kicked me so hard I went hurtling into the other room, hit a wall, and fell behind a couch. It was really dusty back there, but that's not important, sorry. I know this all sounds pretty crazy and unbelievable, but I swear it's all true. Lily might tell you different, but I just wanted to give you my perspective on things. After a while, I peeked out from behind the couch. The living room was empty. David's crazy mom was in the front entryway talking to some man at the door. He looked young, but had eyes like he's lived a dozen lifetimes, if you know what I mean. He flashed her a police badge and said, "I'm looking for a little girl that's gone missing. She's been sighted in the area, and I wondered if you might have seen her." He handed her something, a photo, maybe? David's crazy mom looked at it and shook her head and said, "I'm sorry, I haven't seen anyone like this, but I've been busy painting all day." She did not look like she'd been painting, but the policeman didn't know that some of the stains on her clothes were blood, so he just thanked her and left. He wasn't dressed like a police officer. Lily had mentioned earlier that she had friends on the police force, so I wondered if he was one of her friends. David came limping into the room, holding his crotch like it was going to fall off. His mom had just shut the door and turned and looked at him, and her eyes bugged out, and she said, "Oh my goodness, Davy, what happened to you?" "I told you not to call me Davy," he yelled. Who yells at their mama like that? Bad people do. Never yell at your mother, even if she's crazy and hits kids over the head with teapots. That psycho B word. He didn't say B word. He said the actual B word. That psycho B word broke a TV on my head and punched me in the nuts. I I wanted to giggle, but I was kind of scared they'd find me and do bad things to me, so I just kept peeking. "Oh, my poor baby!" David's crazy mom cried and hugged him. "How bad is it? Do we need to go to a hospital? I'll take care of you, and then I'll take care of her." And she said her like you do when you mean the opposite of what you're actually going to do. I think she was talking about killing Lily. But David shoved her away from him and said, "We can't go to a hospital. Besides, the angel patched me up for the most part. I'm just tender. And he's dealing with that B word in the bathroom. Don't go in there. He's going to make her give up her toad, and then that'll be it. Once I have it, I'll be able to find the others on my own." I couldn't understand why he was hunting toads, but Lily loves animals, so her having a toad was not at all surprising to me. It must have been a very special toad that they would want to go through all this just to get it from her. She told me once that she had trained ninja turtles, so maybe she'd started training toads to do karate or something, and they wanted her karate toads so they could raise a karate toad army. I know that sounds weird, but you're talking to a dead girl stuck inside a cat doll who used to burn things with her mind, so you've just got to go with it. And once you have the toad, of vision, we'll go, his crazy mom said. She started brushing his hair, and it made me think about how my mama bird used to always brush my hair. For years, I thought I'd never feel her fingers running through my hair again. That was one of the first things she did when we saw each other again. After hugs, of course. We'll get out of this nasty town and find another toad, and then another. Luckily, I was behind the couch and got to hear their whole evil plan, so the stuffed rabbit was another angel communicator thingy, only I don't think this one was a good angel like the others because it seemed really mean. I'd met another not-so-nice angel the night I died. I think I mentioned him. He was wearing a business suit. His name was Samuel. He looked normal, and he scared the bonkers out of the other angels and even Lily. She told me later about how he was kind of like the devil if the devil were real. Personally, I think the devil is real. I started to look around and find some way to get past David and his crazy mom without them seeing me. There was a hole in the wall that looked like there had been an electrical outlet, but someone had taken it out and these goopy red mushroom things were squeezing out like a bunch of balloons. They almost looked like frog eggs if you've ever seen those. I'd swear there was something dark swimming around inside them. I touched one, just to see if it was as squishy as it looked, and when I did, I had this weird flash like my soul was being sucked out of my body, and suddenly I had 1,000 eyes. I was behind the couch looking at myself, but I was also in the dark in dozens of places, looking up from some sort of drain into the eye of a faucet, peeking out of cracks in a fireplace at the sky, just hundreds of locations throughout the house, inside and out. It was a weird feeling, and even weirder was the sense that I wasn't alone, like I was riding on the back of someone else's bicycle and they were pedaling. One of the 1,000 eyes was watching Lily in the bathroom. I couldn't hear her, but I could see her. She was laying on the floor and moving her mouth. It made me wish I could read lips. There was something else in the room. A person? I couldn't make them out, just their shadow. And then there was an eye looking out of the light fixture on the front step, watching the police guy walking away towards some old beat-up brown car. He stopped for a moment, looking in both directions down the street, and then down at his hand. Then stuffed whatever he was holding in his pocket, got in the car, and drove away. I tried to call to him, but I couldn't even hear my own voice. I pulled away, and the vision of 1,000 eyes left, and I was back to just the two. I was still behind the couch, only now totally freaked out. I didn't know what just happened, but I felt really sad. Not like I had something to feel sad about, but like I had been experiencing this really intense emotion while looking through the 1,000 eyes, and it was so overwhelming that I couldn't even register it until it started to go away. I had some inkling that the red mushroom sacks were alive, and that they were spread like webs all throughout the house. It was as if the house itself was a living thing. From somewhere else came the sound of creaking like hinges that needed oil. I lay there on the floor, just a discarded stuffy, listening for whatever was going to happen next. Honestly, I was coming down off of such a massive feeling of despair from touching the house's organs or whatever they were that I just wanted to curl up and cry. "There she is," I heard David say on the other side of the couch. "Look, I'm sorry that it went down this way. It wasn't supposed to get violent. We panicked when you just showed up. I didn't have fur on me when I ran into you. There was a whole plan. Look, what I'm trying to say is, I'm sorry. We're sorry. But you understand now, right? I understand. It was Lily. She sounded ridiculously calm, but that's my Lily bird for you. She'll be getting into knife fights one minute, dropped on a beach out of a hole in the sky, and then lie in the grass and tell you about her crazy adventures like it was just another day of climbing trees. So you've got fur now, David said. And we go to your place and you trade me for the pasture. I shimmied on my tummy under the couch and peeked out from under it. All I could see were feet. David was standing in the middle of the room. His crazy mother was standing near me by the entryway to the front hall. Lily was standing in the door to the kitchen with that nasty-looking stuffed rabbit on her shoulder. "Lily!" I started to squeak. "Change of plan," Lily said. And then there was this sound like someone filled a trash bag with water and beat it against the trunk of a tree, and the whole room went red. "Oh, somebody's coming. I hope Lily doesn't flip out when she sees I wrote in her journal. Love you, Lily!"
Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I wanted to wish you a very well, we're getting close to October. Are you as excited as I am? Also, thank you for watching tonight's video, or listening to tonight's episode of the podcast if you're listening on Spotify. The summer is finally coming to an end, and that means we're moving into the fall. And as we get further into the fall, for those of you that live in cooler climates, you'll probably like to have a nice cup of tea. To get a nice cup of tea, my wife sells it. It's at etsy.com/shop/ivorymonocletea. You can get a whole bunch of different teas there, including creepypasta-based teas. My personal favorite is the Dark and Stormy Night, which is why you can get a sticker of me on it. If you do buy that one, you can always ask for that sticker of me doing the little dab, and you get a special dab sticker. Also, I want to give a very big thank you to all of my Patreons over there on Patreon, because you guys have helped me out quite a bit. I'm not even quite a bit. You guys are honestly, you guys pulled me out of an incredibly dark place when I first had to look at moving and all of the demon stuff that YouTube does, and thank you guys very dearly for all the help that you've given me. People like Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Brian Arce, Bobby Karman, Stephanie Butler, Tristain Pelton, Chase Burnett, Diana Kraus, Raven Mitz, Satanic Aries, Ness69420, aisodoehtraed, Payne, Nessie, Blitzscreed, BardoHawk764, Melancholy Corpse, Ferb, Harley, Billy Morrow, Madam Skullbunny, Sashi Sazaku, @Grizzly Olsen Pro, Kayden the Spooky Boy, Zane Nightshade, MyBodySoundsLikeRiceKrispys, Ashwood, Lord of the Weebs, Jay, Faye Lockett, Miss Xander, Mr. Unsettling Spaghetti, Suji Campbell, Azarine Fox, Robert White, Fried Chicken 12, James Bruce, Freddy Krueger, Ty Nanny, Michael Scarborough, Infernal One, Lisa Cottrell, Caspian, Jordan Nels, Hades Nephew, Tater Chip, Acid System, Prozac and Pancake Appreciation Society, Cryptic Nightmares, Kiri the Sloth, Tommy Green, Liam Newman, Sky Harbor, Caleb Dougal, Nina Smith, Nico Kyle, Rafael Rodriguez, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, Daniel Polson, Trace Miles, and Corey Kenshin. Once again, thank you all so much to everyone who is in this list of names that I mispronounce, and everyone who's in the description, and everyone who supports me at patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta. I can't thank you guys enough for listening, for watching, and I wish you all sweet dreams. Good night, everyone.